Hello everyone and welcome to the Bonus Points podcast. I'm Joe Garrett, as always being joined by Ollie Guy.
Oi oi.
Oi oi Ollie, back in person. It's been a little while. If I can remember, I think Batman was the last one we did in person.
I think Batman was the last one we did in person. Also the one that we got in trouble for because everyone says it's way better than we thought it was. More than usual. Like, sometimes we get a little bit of backlash, but I think Batman, people...
Well, it's funny because if I watched that podcast without having just played it, I would have probably been the same. Because I picked it because I remember really, I'd played it before and I had very fond memories. Yeah. And for me, I don't think it fully held on, as it usually doesn't when you go back to it.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Batman.
We are not. We're not here to talk about a video game.
Oh my God.
For the second time
ever
on the Bonus Points podcast.
Yep.
We are talking about something. We're talking about a game, but not a video game. So basically, we're talking about a pinball machine today. So specifically one called Medieval Madness, which is a game that came out in the 90s. We're also going to be discussing the virtual version of it because we wanted people to be able to play along with it. So the thing we're putting on the list is the actual machine, but we'll talk a bit more about virtual pinball because it's a bit more accessible as well, as well as just pinball in general because...
Yeah.
Like, from people that I know, most people haven't spent any significant time playing a pinball machine and probably don't know really anything about them.
And we're old.
So we're actually probably a little bit too old to have grown up with pinball.
Too young?
No, too old. I think so. No, yeah, sorry, too young. Yeah. Too young. So I guess like pinball was kind of bigger in like 70s and 80s. Yeah. And then in the 90s, they kind of call it almost like a golden era, basically because that's when the machines got really good and they kind of still hold up today. But we were probably a little bit too young to be playing them because we were, we were 10 in 2000. So, So, we'd have kind of been too small almost to play them. And then after then, for like the early 2000s, there was a real dark period where basically video games killed them off. And there was still them being made, but they're all like done quite cheaply and like not very many of them. Yeah. And then it's only within maybe the last 10, 15 years, there's been another resurgence, but from people buying them for their homes. So rather than buying them for arcades, like most new pinball machines that are made now are bought by kind of collectors or tournament players or people that mod them and they buy them for their house. And so that's why the modern machines are now so complicated with the rules and they're really deep. It's because the old ones used to be quite simple because you need to learn the rules really quick. Yep. And the modern ones, it's like, well, if I'm going to play a game for like hours, like it can't be too simple or it's going to get boring.
Yeah, I'd never considered that video games would be affecting pinball at all. But I suppose when they both share the same space in an arcade, that's where they would actually cross over, wouldn't they?
And it's not even that video games got so popular. But if you imagine if you're like a vendor, if you own an establishment, it's like, okay, I could buy an arcade machine, which like I'll buy once and then very lightly have to maintain it. Yep. Like it's basically a screen. There might be a few things you need to fix compared to a pinball machine that you need to like take the glass off and clean and it like breaks and one of the flippers is loose or getting stick and this is broken. Like the cost as well, the upfront cost is so high and then the maintenance cost is so high. And if it's earning similar to a Pac-Man machine, it's kind of a bit of a no-brainer for what you'll choose to get.
Yeah, I read the Like a Hurricane book, which is about Street Fighter 2 becoming popular in the arcade. And I think it said in there that as long as you can kick someone off the machine within 1 minute, it's earning money because of the cost of running one. So I guess with a pinball machine, there's so many electrical components, pistons going off, springs being coiled, that uses way more electricity than just a screen and some buttons. So I can see it from that angle.
Yeah, and maybe they could charge a little bit more for a pinball machine, which probably, once again, made people move towards video games. But like, there's very definite eras of pinball machine, and it's really nice because it's very easy to look at a pinball machine and tell the era because you can just look at the display. Yeah, because obviously, the original ones didn't have a display or flippers. It was just like a thing you plunge.
Like Bagatelle.
Bagatelle, yeah. And then like was it Waffle Ball or whatever? There's like different like eras, and then eventually they get to like what they call like electromechanical ones. Yeah. So where it uses electricity, but it's still mostly mechanical. So there's no computer or anything. Like I'm talking about like 30s and 40s here. Like
that's old.
Really old. So it's all cogs and gears keeping your score, and then the score is like, you know, like at old like sports venues when they
the flip chart thing.
Not flip chart. It's like a ring spinning.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It would be like that to show your score, and then obviously eventually that becomes digital and has like a numeric display. Eventually they start being like, oh, we could put text on there as well, so it still looks like a calculator, but it will show text. And then eventually you get to like the dot matrix, which is what Medieval Madness is, where it's kind of just a very pixelated screen. And then now you have like modern screens, like just it's like a HD TV basically.
Yeah, I think probably the things that people will see the most, if they are lucky enough to go to a pinball hall or find one somewhere in public, would be either the dot matrix screen, which is a bit like when you go to the train station and they display what trains are coming, or it's like a full HD screen. Which,
but it means you can very instantly just judge the era, because without looking at it you might not really think or notice. So like say if you see that dot matrix screen, you're like, okay, this is a game that's from like 2000 back basically, almost exactly. That's when it crossed over. Would you like to hear about Medieval Madness Wikipedia entry? Oh yeah, I don't ever think about that. Let me know.
Shall I just quickly whiz through that? So shall I test you actually? You said you know all about it.
Okay, let me
So I'm very much a tourist in this pinball world, whereas you live in it, and I've dipped my toe in.
I always feel like this is me like coming clean, because I've always like I've been into pinball for like so long. I just turned the screen black because this is our backup audio. So like I've been into pinball for like so long, but I never really talk about it. Yeah, because it just never really comes up, and people are confused,
ashamed maybe, pinhead shame.
But like, say if I was really into films, I could talk about that with anyone, or even video games. Whereas pinball machine, like, there's just no one to talk to.
No, that's fair enough. We'll come into that. I'm sure we'll talk about that. So, Medieval Madness is a Williams pinball machine released in
1997.
What month?
May.
June. Close. Designed by
Brian Eddy
and programmed by
Lyman Sheets.
Yes, God, you know your stuff. It had a production run of
4,016.
And as of December 7th, 2024, the Pinside pinball community lists it as the second highest ranked pinball machine behind
Godzilla.
Made by
Stern.
Nicely done. Many consider it the greatest of all time. Various remake versions were released from 2015 onwards. There were hopes by Williams that this would resurrect the pinball industry, as voiced by
Tina Fey.
No.
Oh no.
That opinion was voiced by
the opinion voiced by Steve Ritchie?
No, Steve Kordek. I've never heard of him.
Oh, okay.
It's also available in the Williams Pinball Volume 1 on Pinball FX3, available on literally every single platform. So there we go. So that's actually what we're focusing on today, but we're really going to have to keep it general, because a lot of people probably have never played pinball or seen pinball or really seen anything about it. So in the most layman's terms you can imagine the pinball table was just blank. How would you describe what it is that you're doing?
So obviously the core thing that most people think of is you don't want the ball to fall down either the middle or the out lanes, which is where the ball could fall down either side. So you want to keep the ball in play. Think of each ball as like lives in a video game. So when you're playing Mario, you have an objective, but you also don't want to lose lives.
Yep.
Whereas I think when most people play pinball, all they're thinking about is not losing lives. Especially if they put money in, because they might want to keep playing.
Yeah, I would say the level that I play at is more about, I just don't want to drop the ball.
Yeah.
So you were saying to me earlier on, like, the fun thing is when you learn this strategy, and I was thinking it's a bit like if we were walking on a tightrope and juggling, and you were like, the fun thing is the juggling, and I'm like, mate, I've still got to learn how to tightrope. I'm not at juggling yet.
I think a better one that fit well view is like if you think of Tetris.
Yep.
When I play Tetris, I'm like, I don't want it to reach the top of the screen. Whereas you have way more stuff that you're considering that I'm not thinking about.
Hitting the top of the screen, I barely even think about that.
Exactly. You're like, how can I maximize points and set up a Tetris or whatever?
But with pinball, not dropping the ball, still fun.
Yeah.
So that's good. Right?
And then obviously there are mechanical things, and they have sounds, and sometimes they shake and they light up, and things, they have mechs in them, like toys, like bash toys that you can hit, or things that move in interesting ways, and magnets. So just as a visual thing, someone that doesn't know what they're doing, if they just flip, like they're just going to see stuff happening and call outs, and most of them, Medieval Madness isn't, but certainly nowadays most of them are licensed, so you're normally playing like, oh, I'm playing the one based on the film I like, or the band I like, or the TV show.
Kitchen Nightmares. Get license.
More like Game of Thrones or like Mandalorian and so normally, and that's probably for ones on location, the ones that do well is it's like, oh, we got the Star Wars license, this one's going to earn more money than the one next to it, which might be a better game, but no one knows because they're just going to go to the thing that they know. Yeah.
So I'm going to be the person that has never played pinball before.
Okay.
So would you say it was fair that pinball is basically kind of has levels that you're moving through like a video game? Is it structured like a game in any way, a video game?
Yeah, I mean, it essentially is very close to a video game, but then like a video game, it's like, okay, describe the structure of a video game. It's like, well, which one?
Yeah, true.
Like, so they're all. So Medieval Madness is a game that doesn't really have modes, so it's really open. So there's different shots that you need to shoot that will do different things, but kind of everything's essentially open at all times.
Yep.
Whereas that's not typical. Most games will have more of a set mode. So you do a certain thing, you shoot it somewhere, and now you're in this mode and you have this objective. And you could usually pair that with other things. So maybe you start a mode and then start multi-ball straight away. So you're doing multi-ball where you have more than one ball and a mode at the same time. Oh, but then also if you shoot this target, you get a times multiplier. So you're kind of juggling different things. Or if I set up like an add a ball. So if I press a button, it adds another ball during a multi-ball. It's like, okay, I've almost got multi-ball, so I'm going to try and get that first and then get the mode and then multi-ball. So you're kind of stacking all these things in your head, but at any point, the ball could just drop. So there's a lot of risk versus reward, like pushing your luck with pinball.
So a general pinball table would be like, you need to shoot all the blue targets, then you need to shoot all the red targets, then all the yellow targets. But Medieval Madness is more like, you can shoot any of them in any order. As long as you hit them all 5 times, it doesn't matter what order you do it in. Yeah. And there's a best strategy. There's the most efficient way to do it, but it means at any point in time, anything you shoot is good. It's never bad. Whereas other machines, you might shoot a shot that isn't lit for anything, and it's like, it'll give you like pity points basically, but it's basically you get nothing from it, which is what I think probably part of Medieval Madness' success is because it is simple in that way, and then it's got this big castle in the middle of the playfield, which is very big for like a toy and a pinball machine. It's interactive. You can shoot over a moat. There's a drawbridge that comes down and a gate. Then when you destroy the castle, it does like a really crazy animation of it blowing up. Yeah. I mean, animation, interesting use of words, because it is actually a real physical model on the table. Like, this isn't like, if you're not watching the physical, you're not watching the show.
Animation doesn't.
Yeah, it's like an actual plastic model that falls down and then rebuilds itself in a very simple way. And it's the same with the toys, like all that. That's quite common across pinball tables, isn't it? They will have something that you can physically bounce the ball off of. They typically, most have what's called a bash toy, which is a toy that you trigger by hitting it. And it's normally in the center of the playfield, which is the easiest thing to hit. Most people, if they're just flipping randomly, it's going to generally go in the middle. And it's generally dangerous. It's a way to add... It's a way to make people need to lose a ball. Because you have much less... If you hit a ramp, it normally feeds the ball straight back to a flipper. So if you're very accurate, you can kind of keep looping ramps and doing combos and keep control of the ball. Whereas if you have to shoot a big castle, you don't know exactly where it's going to come back. And so it adds a bit of randomness. Yeah, it's kind of... Definitely the older ones are made in a way that you're designed to lose. Like, you will not... It's a bit like when we did Zero Ranger, and it's like the best way to shoot the enemies is to be directly underneath them. Well, obviously, that's the worst place to be. So, like in Medieval Madness, there's a mode where these like troll heads pop up, and they're kind of angled in a way where you're meant to hit them, but if you hit them, it will fall straight down the middle. So it's like designed to try and kick you off the table. But the modern ones they keep that as well. Okay. Just because it would get boring if it goes on. Like it's too easy. Yeah, and people, because most pinball players, as I said, or people that are really into the hobby, like own them, or know people that own them, or like play them a lot on, like, they live near a place that has loads of them, so they start getting good. And so they start, if they get too easy, it gets boring, because, playing one for like hours at an end is, probably gets a bit boring, like every game. You kind of want, I think
you kind of want around, I say maybe 15 to 20 minutes is a sweet spot where you've like, you've made progress, you've got through, but then it's like it's short enough that you'll be like, oh, one more game.
Yeah.
Like,
no, you're right.
You're not going to do one more game if you just played for an hour and a half.
Yeah. So you would count yourself as being fully in on this hobby? You're an enthusiast. Yeah. I mean, there's as always, there's people above me. Like I don't compete, I don't mod them or anything, but I play them. Like I watch tournaments. Yeah.
You can believe there are tournaments. Like I watch them. Like I will know about every new pinball machine that comes out and watch like a little video tour of it. I'm just, I'm interested in the hobby.
Yeah. So how did you actually get into that? Because it's quite difficult to find them to start with. So how did you even?
Yeah. The way I got into them was I got an arcade cabinet, like a multi-cade, like all emulator
MAME cabinet.
Yeah, MAME cabinet. And I had that, and then I got one pinball machine as well, not knowing much about it. It was a Simpsons Pinball Party. And then I realized that all I played was that. Like I got really into it. And then eventually I was like, oh, I might get another one and another one. And then I ended up they ended up spewing out of the room that they were in. And then the good thing about pinball is, I mean, they're really expensive, which isn't the good thing. But once you kind of have one, compared to most other things, is they at least retain their value.
Yep.
Because either, like, say, Medieval Madness is like an older one, and so it stays desirable because it gets rarer and collectible. And then even the modern ones, because they're licensed, they're normally made within quite a short window. So say I'm like, oh, it's the Star Wars pinball machine. They might be able to make it for a year, maybe 2 at most. Mm-hmm. And so they'll make as many as they make. And then they'll be like, okay, we legally can't make any more.
Yeah.
And so then anyone who wants one then is buying it secondhand.
Right, yeah.
So, you normally would buy these secondhand. So once you've kind of got one, you could usually swap it out for another one, either literally swap it with someone else or sell it and then buy another one of equivalent value.
Right.
And so once you're kind of in.
Once you're in, you're in.
Yeah, you're in.
So how much have you interacted with like other pinball owners then? Because if you're swapping them or speaking or getting repairs done or anything like that, like what is that community actually like?
So it's like older men.
Just no surprise. Yeah. Absolutely no surprise.
It's like it's mostly men in like their 50s and 60s.
Right, yeah.
People that have some disposable income and grew up in like they were kids in like the 70s, 80s and 90s and got passionate, and then now they're getting a bit older and they have some spare money and so they've got into it. So that's where the majority is. Yeah. So in terms of the top level players who I've never met in person, it's like video games or sports. They're already young. Like all of it carries across about in terms of reaction time and like everything. Like all of the best players in the world are like under 20.
Yeah.
Or like just they're all.
It's basically these old guys' children.
Yeah, essentially. And like a league above the rest. Like and that's kind of only recently that community's grown enough that that there's enough people playing that's happened, because that wasn't the case not long ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean they're all kind of just nerdy people in their own way. Like most of them aren't into like video games or other nerd culture.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them that are really just into pinball.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that because I listened to basically Joe recommended me a podcast called Final Round, and one of the guys on it is a pinball manufacturer. I guess that's what his job is. But yeah, they're very much focused on pinball in a way that it doesn't cross over with video games. That's quite surprising. Like
in fact, so they announced recently, they've released their Portal pinball machine. And
is that a physical pinball machine?
That's a real pinball machine.
I think maybe I watched a trailer. Oh, I did watch a trailer for that. It shoots out and it's got like a little thing that catches it, doesn't it? Like a level.
Yeah, it's got like the faith plate that knocks it up.
Faith plate,
and it's got like a little it's not Wheatley, but it looks like one of the mind cores or whatever, is the personality cores or whatever. It's got one of them in. But like a lot of on like the forums and stuff, a lot of people are like, oh, it's a bit of a weak theme. I don't know anything about it. But it's like, oh my god, that's like my dream theme. That's like such a good theme for a pinball machine.
But I bet the soon to be coming out King Kong machine, but they're like, oh, that's a great theme. That now it's in the open.
Well, the ones that do it's a lot of music ones, like Led Zeppelin, like Rush. I mean, almost Rolling Stones, Queen came out recently. A lot of like 70s and 80s rock that is really big, and then like older, like Jaws just came out. It's doing really well. Like Jurassic Park.
Is that like 50th anniversure something? Jaws, isn't it? That's why
they released it, and then now they're doing that as well. So there's one designer called Keith Elwin who used to be used to be the top player in the world. So he was a pro player, but he made just pinball machines himself. Like there's people that just make them at home as well. And so he got hired by Stern, who's like the biggest company. And he now makes games, and they're just generally all considered the best games. Like if you look at all of his games, are right up there for the highest rank. He made the Godzilla one. Yeah. He made that Jaws one. There's a Jurassic Park one he made that's really good. Iron Maiden. There's an Avengers ones he did. But basically all of his games are considered among the best. And he's one of the few people that does the rules and the layout as well. Normally people pair up.
Right.
So one person doing, like obviously they work closely together because it's related, but he kind of does everything. And basically his games just sell way more than anything. So whatever theme he does, it doesn't really matter. Right. Because people will buy it because of his name alone. Because they know he designed. So with that, the Godzilla one was so popular, they did another run. So they did a special edition. I think it was like the 70th year edition or something. And they did like a black and white one. Oh, cool. And then with the Jaws one, it obviously has sold so well that they've done it again. And then then this new King Kong one that's coming out, he designed as well.
Oh, nice. We keep sort of drifting a little bit towards video games and back out again, but there is obviously the entire virtual side of pinball as well, which is probably what anyone at home who does want to give this a go, to download Pinball FX 3 is free. And it does come with a couple of tables that are not, I don't know, I can't remember what they are, but then you can buy other tables to go with it. But just if you wanted to give this a go, you could do it on the free ones. But I will say, I spent 10 hours playing Pinball FX 3 and I learned more in the 1 hour I spent with you this afternoon than I spent the 10 hours on my own. I had a lot of fun, but for me, it was more about just not dropping the ball. Keeping it in play. And also the other thing is with Pinball FX is I really feel like it's really like using a piece of computer software. It's like, feels like you're using an emulator. It doesn't feel like you're playing a game. Yeah. But that's another interesting thing about it, is that I feel like virtual pinball is closer to like an electronic game than it is a video game. It's a bit like, you know, when you see someone playing chess on their laptop, it's like they're not really playing a video game. They're playing an electronic game. They're
emulating a real life.
So this is much the same, where
it's almost like when you have a dart mini game in a game. That doesn't feel like a video game. It just feels like they're trying to do darts.
There's like no video part, really. It's more like you're just playing the electronic version. Which is the same for this. This is much closer to the real thing than playing something like FIFA or Gran Turismo. Like it's not, you don't play FIFA and you're like, oh, I feel like I've played football. But playing virtual pinball, it uses enough of the same part of your brain that it is kind of like
and all of the rules, like the strategy, the strategy almost carries over. There'll be certain things, because every machine is slightly different, and so there'll be certain shots that will be easier on some and harder on others. So if I'm like, oh, this shot's easy on this particular version of this game, I'm going to do it more. But if it was difficult or like had a dangerous return, I'm like, okay, I'm going to change my strategy because of that. Or this right flipper's a bit weak, so I'm going to go not for that ramp, I'm going to go for this ramp or something. So it changes. And then the biggest difference is nudging. So a lot of people think this. Someone's even trying to argue with me that I'm wrong. So nudging them, like moving the machine, is not cheating. It feels like it should be. It feels like you're trying to get free crisp from a vending machine. But, but it's not. Like, it's part of the game is moving the machine. And once again, if you see a top player, they are moving it constantly. They're constantly shuffling it and nudging it and sliding it. And there's a physical tilt bob inside of the machine that when it hits the edge of a ring, it'll basically give you a warning. And by default, you get 2 warnings and then you're out. And you can adjust that bob higher or lower for how like tight the tilt is. How difficult it is. And so a huge part of the game is nudging the ball to kind of save it, or to set up a particular shot, or even to like pass the ball from one flipper to the other. So like, say if the ball's coming down fast, you could hold a flipper up, and it's called a ski pass. And then if you just nudge the machine a little bit, it will just nudge it over to the other side. So little things like that just make it easier. And virtual pinball machine has nudging, but it can't get all of the nuance down.
No, it's more like a binary. It's either you've nudged or you haven't.
Yeah.
Whereas in the actual thing, you can kind of apply force and stuff like that.
And like the weight of the machine matters. Or, well, what surface are you playing on?
Yeah.
Is it on carpet or wood? Or, you know, like it's
like Wimbledon with no grass or clay. Or
yeah, well, it really does change like the way you play, because nudging is so important. And that is the thing that will, because I'm not great at it. Like I'm okay, but not excellent at it. And that is the thing that will turn a good player to an excellent player, even more than shot accuracy.
Yeah.
Because it just means each live will be stretched longer because you're not going to lose it.
Yeah, it's something I had never considered until I watched you playing pinball, that you were not only allowed to nudge, but you should be doing it. Yeah. Because even when I'm playing on Medieval Madness, I feel like I shouldn't nudge the machine. And like I've watched you like swinging it around, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't nudge it because I might break it, which is crazy. The other thing is I feel like in the virtual one, more than the real one, it's much harder to get your head around nudging, because what you're doing is you're moving the table underneath the ball. Yeah. Whereas in real life, it's quite easy to think about that. Whereas when you're playing on, you know, the Xbox or whatever, when you press left on the stick, you expect the ball to go left. And it's not the case. What you're doing is moving the table underneath the ball. So that's like nudging is just really, really difficult in virtual pinball, and also quite scary in actual. But I went to Tilt in Birmingham, and there was a guy that was like almost handstanding on the bottom of the machine. Like he was like jumping up and like throwing all over the place. I remember looking at him just being like, that's crazy. And then not only that, so I went for a work thing to Birmingham. When he left, I went on the machine afterwards and I gave it a little nudge. The person with me was like, oh my God, don't do that. Yeah. I was like, did you see the previous guy? He was like,
but that's people's instinct. It's like, oh,
it feels like you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. But like absolutely they're designed with that. I mean, some of them specifically have features where you need to nudge. Like some of them will have a thing where it's going down the outline, they have one post there and they have like a little gap in the side. Mm-hmm. And if you give it a nudge, you have basically one chance to get it back in. Yeah. Or a lot of them, mostly older ones, but there are some modern ones that have it. They have like a center post. So they have two flippers and then they'll have a post with some rubber on between them. And if the ball goes down there, you give it a little nudge up, you can come back into play. Yeah. So like it's part of the game. Nudging. But like if you say if you went and played it now, not really knowing when you should move and how you should move, it'll probably make you worse. So I'd say if you're a beginner, don't worry about it. Yeah. Just like, because you're going to overthink. The other thing is, like when I play, like, or the way most people that have played a lot play, is they play controlled. So I'm not just flipping away. I'm basically, every time I shoot a shot, I'm trying to catch the ball again on my flipper. So then I can kill its momentum, then I can take a controlled shot, and then I try and catch it again. Yeah. And there's all different methods you can do. There's what's called a live catch, where you flip as soon as the ball's about to hit the flipper, and it just kills its momentum. You can do like a drop catch. Yeah. The easiest one to do in concept, but people always struggle with, is called the dead pass or the dead flip, where you just don't flip. And so the ball will come down to the flipper, and it feels scary, but if you don't flip, it will just bounce and land on the other one, and you can catch it.
I was watching you do that today, and I was like, I would never do that.
Well, that's
like, never do that.
Because you need to know when you're doing, because if it's coming at the wrong angle, or if it hits a bit of the metal, like you will mess up. So normally what happens when someone comes to play is they'll play, and they'll just flip, or they'll be pressing both buttons at the same time, whatever. Yeah. Then I'll play, and they'll see me catching it and shooting it, and then they'll be like, okay, I need to do that. And then when the ball's coming down, they'll just hold the flipper up. And then it will, and then it will just fly off it, or bounce onto the slingshot or something, like, because you're not going to learn what move to do and when until time. So it's almost, if you just know you're going to play one or two games, it's almost worth not thinking about unless you really want to get good.
Yeah, the only time that I really ever use nudging successfully is when the ball is coming right down the middle. Yeah. That's kind of enough time for me to be like, okay, I need to move the flipper underneath the ball. That's quite easy to do once you get used to it. And also that came naturally from playing it enough to being like, I wasn't actively thinking like, I need to shake the machine. It was just like, okay.
And that's a case where if you don't do anything, you're going to lose it. You might as well try. Yeah. Even if you tilt, you lose your bonus, which is basically a score that you only get if you don't tilt. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to lose the ball, it's kind of worth trying. The easiest nudge just to know this is a good thing to try often is, say if the ball's kind of bouncing around the outlane lane, there's always like a rubber
lane
post
being
there.
The one that's on the very outside of
the very far left or right, the other place you can lose the ball other than the middle. So if you just give it a little nudge up, once it's by that post, it will often just go up, hit the rubber above, and go back in.
Yeah, because above those they quite often have
like angled bits of rubber on most of them. So that's kind of a general. If it's bouncing around there and you think it might go out, give it a little nudge. But good players they'll be nudging it so much sooner than that because they don't even want to get near that area.
Yeah.
Like it'll be like coming down the side of the machine and they'll be like reaching up and like hitting the top. Because the other thing is
crazy.
like side to side motion only really affects the bottom. So
of course.
Whereas up and down affects the whole machine. So if they want side motion at the top, they have to lean and like slap the side of the machine higher up. Probably what your guy was doing that you saw playing.
Okay. I think we haven't really gone enough into like when you're playing pinball, what is it you're trying to do? As in, let's talk about going to like wizard mode and explaining what that is, because we haven't really gone into anything like that.
Yeah. So wizard mode is basically every game from a certain era onwards will have a wizard mode, which is basically like the final boss.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of you've completed every other mode. Usually, is how you unlock it.
Or like mission, same thing. Like you can complete every task basically.
Yeah. And then you get to a final mode. But most modern ones will have several of them, so they'll call them mini wizard modes. So it might be, if you've completed all of this type of mode, you get to this mini wizard mode, or there'll be different ones that. So
if you've completed this selection of missions or quests, you unlock this particular ending.
So but then you keep going,
right?
And then the final one is basically, it's usually you've completed everything in the game. It's a final mode, really difficult. Most players will never see them. They're always incredibly difficult to get to on purpose because it's like it's your end goal that you want to reach. So you're not expected to reach it every time. And then normally after you do it, the game essentially just resets and then you're like back to square one again.
Yeah.
Like in the
New
most
Game
games.
Plus.
Yeah. You just carry on. I mean, so Godzilla is unique. Is when you complete the wizard mode, it stops playing, like rolls credits.
Right.
Which isn't common.
And then what happens then? The ball just drains and you're just done?
Yeah, you could have extra balls still, but it's like, no, you're finished. You're done. You're finished the story, and you see Godzilla going off into the water and which I really like.
So why do you think it does that rather than, because it kind of reminds me of when Street Fighter 4 came out in the arcade, they would only let you play 8 games before they kicked you off. Whereas the old Street Fighter games, you just play till you lost. Do you think there's a part of like, they want to move people through the experience, or do you think?
I mean, if you've reached that, you've played for over an hour at least.
Oh wow!
So it's not like
it's not 20 minutes.
Yeah, they're not thinking of arcades for when
okay.
Wizard modes aren't for arcades really. They must be so hard. I mean, to be fair, older games it would be much easier to reach them compared to modern ones. I think that's just a choice, almost like an artistic choice, to be like, no, you've done everything. Like with Godzilla, most of the modes are battling other kaiju. So it would be Godzilla versus Ebera, and you have a fight, and it's like, you've defeated Ebera. So if you went through the wizard mode, and it's like, now fight Ebera. It's like, well, no, I've defeated Ebera. It almost makes the story worse.
Yeah,
a little bit.
The narrative of the pinball table.
And you choose if you're going to the wizard mode. So you could, if you're going for points, go for something else. And that's the other thing, is normally you're making a choice. Normally going to wizard mode isn't the best way to make points. Usually I'm playing, so if I'm playing against someone else and I'm against them, I'm thinking about, okay, what is quick points that I know I can get that they probably won't because they don't know what they're doing. If I'm trying to get a high score, there'll be one very set thing I'm trying to get to where I know I get most points. And then if I'm trying to do progress, I'll play in a very different way where I might get to be in a multi-ball and be like, all I'm gaining from here is points, so I'm going to not even go for jackpots. I'm going to go for something else instead, or I'm going to literally drain out of it, or like, this is in a mode that I get points, but it doesn't give me progress. I'm just going to time it out. I'm going to literally just hold the ball on a flipper and wait.
So it's not the highest scoring route does not necessarily mean getting to the final mode.
No.
It's not always the highest scoring route then.
Yeah, I mean, you probably would have a good score just because you're playing for so long, but normally, like say in a tournament, no one's trying to get to wizard modes.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, because there will always be some sort of, not exploit, but some sort of path, which is, this is the good, like if you line up this and this, your score's going to blow up. So there's normally some sort of strategy, and there is variance, and people have to adapt in case they mess up or it doesn't fit their play style or that particular machine. But normally players are going in saying, I need to line up these 3 things, and then that's how I'm going to get loads of points.
Yeah. The another thing is, obviously about all these different, well, actually, first of all, have you ever got wizard mode on any machine?
Yeah, I did on Medieval Madness.
Hey, is that not the? Didn't we just talk about that? And you said you didn't do it.
I haven't completed it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I was 2 shots away from completing it.
Yeah, that's what you were telling me.
Battle for the Kingdom.
Yeah. So the the thing is the pinball tables, as it currently stands in 2025, is a really small hobby with probably a relatively small audience.
Yeah.
And how many pinball tables do they release a year?
I mean, probably about 9 or 10.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, from different companies. Yeah, the biggest company, Stern, will release 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah.
And then there's another company called Jersey Jack, which is the second biggest. They'll release a couple a year. Then there's lots of smaller ones. So the Medieval Madness I've got is actually a remake. So there's a company called Chicago Gaming that they make that. So yeah, and there's loads more popping up.
Yeah.
And getting big licenses as well. So there's quite a few making them now.
Yeah, because the video gaming industry is just like repeatedly getting stepped on in terms of investments and money and layoffs and stuff like that. Yeah. What is the pinball industry like? So if you know.
Yeah, so they're almost all made in America.
Yep.
It's very rare. There's a few made. There was some that were made in Wales for a while. There's a few in Europe. There's one in Australia. They're mostly in America, mostly around the Chicago area, because that's where the older companies used to be. And so that's where the talent is for like the designers and stuff. So they're really expensive to make. They're made by hand mostly. So all of the cables and stuff, all the different lights is wired by hand. The designing progress, they do like what's called like a whitewood. So they'll just have like blank playfield and they'll just like stick stuff on and be like, okay, we have this here. And so they'll basically make the game playable. And then if that works, they'll then bring in an artist and then like music as well and voice actors to bring it all together. I don't know if there's anything else specific that I would know to help you out. There's a lot of videos of like tours of assembly lines that look really cool.
Yeah, it's just like when I look at so we've got a bit of footage of you lifting up the pinball table and it's like when you look at it, it's like, how can this be a sustainable business? Like it is so complicated. And like the Godzilla one, for example, the artwork is like so amazing. And the license itself must be expensive. It's like, how are they affording and also I know obviously they sell them for a lot of money, but they must cost a lot of money to make as well. But I mean, if you're saying it's sustainable, then
yeah, well, growing. It's growing. Yeah, I mean, it almost wasn't for a while. Very close came to dying off, kind of like mid 2000s, but it had a resurgence, and now, I mean, so the best selling pinball machine of all time is an Addams Family machine. Yeah. So if you guess how many, so you think best selling of all time, how many do you reckon that sold?
Well, pinball machines, actual machines.
Yeah. And this was when they were only going to arcades.
Probably like 150,000.
So 20,000.
That's crazy.
Best selling of all time.
That's crazy.
So Godzilla might have a chance. I don't know what it's at now, but Godzilla's probably the only modern one that has a chance of overtaking it because it sold so much. But that's the scale we're talking about. Yeah. And so they have to be, that's why they're so expensive, because they're not making them. I mean, 20,000 is still
20,000 out to locations, 20,000 that are making money. How much money did Addams Family make? It would make so much.
Well, it's not making money for the manufacturer though. Usually, at least now. I mean, some might have had deals where they still own the machine and it's in your venue and they split income. But generally, they're making money at point of sale.
Yeah, so I was thinking about it like the box office. That's what I was thinking. Like, you get the reel and then you sell tickets, but it's not really like that because you keep 100% of your profits. But it's interesting in that Like a Hurricane book, the Street Fighter book I read, is that they would try and use certain denominations of coin shape and amounts of coins to try and get people to pay a certain amount to play their games, which was like, this is a complete tangent, but they would be like, we want our game to be $1. So you either have to use a 50-cent coin is the only one that fits, and it has to trigger twice. And it's like that way no manufacturer can change it. They have to have the amount that we want, which I thought was
it's like in video games where it's like, oh, you want to buy this thing, you need 10,000 gems. Yeah. But like to buy them, you have to buy more 15,000 gems. It never lines up. They're sneaky. There's actually one other comparison to video games that might surprise you is pinball machines are even worse than video games for releasing unfinished. So a modern pinball machine is the code, not only is it will have bugs, like it won't have half the modes in yet or half the features. Okay. They released
all the toys on the thing.
Yeah, physically it is complete, but the code, they'll release it in like 0.7 code, and it can be years until they get to even 1.0.
Okay, and how would you update something like that?
Just over. So you could either, if you don't have internet there, you put the update on like a USB stick, and there's a USB thing in the back. You update it, or if you have Wi-Fi, just over Wi-Fi.
Right, because inside the pinball machine is basically like a Raspberry Pi microcomputer.
So the modern one's just a computer running Linux.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
In the mod. So the old ones used to be like a circuit board, so you could never update them unless. I mean, sometimes there'd be a bug or an exploit, and so it'd be like, oh, if you got an early Medieval Madness, it's like this, but later ones are like this because later in the run, they changed the board. And there's also people that have older games and they've updated the code or fixed it, and so you could switch out the ROM. So you have an old machine, but you can put a different chip in or a different board. I don't think it is a whole board. I think they just changed one. What's the thing called? Let's say with an arcade machine.
Dip switches and stuff.
Yeah, but like the brains.
Oh, like the RAM. ROM.
That's it. ROM.
It's the same again. Just to make yet another Street Fighter comparison, they'd release Street Fighter 2, and then they would release Hyper Street Fighter 2 or Turbo. Use all the same buttons, use the same, and they would just swap the RAM.
But these are like games that came out in like the 90s or whatever, and like people just for fun, like I've changed the rules, but then they will sell it as well, so you could update it. So like there's like a game like Bride of Pinbot. There's an updated rules for it. There's a famous game that is famous kind of for why it's famous called Cactus Canyon, which was kind of the last traditional pinball machine made by Bali Williams, who made Medieval Madness, who was kind of considered the best, one of the only ones kind of in the 90s, big ones. And it was kind of their last game that they made traditional pinball machine. But like it kind of got cut halfway through. So they didn't make very many of them, and they never finished the code, but they just released it anyway. And so people have made like new code, and they've actually now made a remake with new code in it as well that you can buy, because the layout was all done and it was good, but they just never finished the code, so it was like quite boring. Right.
The Bali Williams, you were saying earlier on before we were recording that they're connected to like Midway.
So there was three companies. There was Midway, Bali, and Williams. And I'm not sure about Midway, but at least Bali and Williams, like they go back from like the 30s.
Wow.
Like, they've been around and making pinball machines.
Oh, okay, making pinball machines the whole time.
They had like a good run, and other slot machines and other things like it, but pinball machines. And so then I'm not sure exactly when, but they all merged. So then Bali, Williams, and Midway are all one and the same, to the point where one machine might say Williams. The next one might say Bali, and like it might even say
but Midway doesn't get a look at it.
No, and Midway will.
They do.
And even on the same machine, it might on the speaker say Bali, and then down under the playfield it says Midway. Like I said, they basically all became one. And during the 90s, that's kind of what's considered, as I say, that golden age. They were the ones making the games everyone liked. There were other people making, like Sega made some, Capcom made some as well.
Capcom made some.
Yeah, there was Street Fighter 2. You played one.
Yeah, but But did they just give the license?
I think they made that one.
Really? Because I was going to say, it doesn't seem like there's many Japanese interest in pinball.
No, I think it's mostly America.
Because arcades are still alive in Japan. They're not as mad as they used to be. But yet they never went. And also, Japanese had the electronics boom in like the late 80s, 90s. You'd really think that pinball would have absolutely banged over there. But for some reason... Oh, no, they like... what's that game called?
Pachinko.
Is it Pachinko? Yeah, they fire the little balls. Yeah. Well, there's also that, and the other thing is gambling is always a bit of a legal minefield.
Well, do you know about pinball?
This is why I'm bringing it up. We had a comment. Let me read the comment first, then you can fill in the gaps. Bryn P wrote on our Discord that pinball was used as a gambling payout machine. Often the machines were housed in locations owned by organised crime groups, which led to pinball gaining those connotations and viewed as a pure gambling game, and made illegal in many places in America. This only changed after it was demonstrated in front of a court that it is in fact a game of skill rather than a game of chance. Have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, that's true. So for years, for like decades, it was like you couldn't play pinball in New York, and there's pictures of them like raiding places and like bringing them out in the street and like smashing them up because they don't, like a normal pinball machine. There's no gambling element to it. It's just,
you can't win anything.
Yeah. And also it was, so it became, so someone called Roger Sharpe was the person who in a courtroom had to basically call his shots. So he had to prove that, no, it's a game of skill.
Yeah.
So he would be, I'm going to shoot that ramp, and then he would shoot it, and I'm going to do it. Like he had to prove that his skill was what was making him win, not luck. And that was in a cool, and they've made a film of it like recently.
Yeah, they did, didn't they? Isn't it just called Pinball? Was it called The Father of Pinball or something? Isn't it?
I've not actually seen it. I'm not sure what it's called.
Watch it. You'd love it, mate.
But it's crazy because that family, because then he's got 2 kids.
Yeah.
Called Josh Sharpe.
Pin and ball. Lefty and righty flipper.
so Zach Sharpe and Josh Sharpe.
Yeah.
So Josh Sharpe is the head of the IFPA, which is the tournament that everyone's under. So it's basically everyone has a ranking. So there's tournaments all around the world. And if it's like an IFPA one, you get points for it.
Yeah.
And then they'll have like, almost like Wimbledon, they have like a few big events that are the big ones throughout the year. So he runs that. And then Zach Sharpe works at Stern, like making the pinball machine. And then they all compete as well. They're just like people that just live and breathe pinball. And then like crazy. Their dad is the guy who did this. And then like the son is now in tournaments as well, like some of their sons. So.
And isn't the guy who did that in court, isn't he still alive?
Yeah.
What's his name again?
Roger Sharpe.
Roger Sharpe. Yeah, that's it. And he watched the film that he was... That Fun Around podcast he put me on. I remember them. They spoke to Roger Sharpe about.
Yeah, he's still you see him and he goes to all the time. I don't think he competes anymore, but he's still like you see him around. He's kind of a bit of like a pinball celebrity, like the man who saved pinball. That might be what
it's called. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. I've got one more question for you, and I think we should focus in on Medieval Madness.
Yep.
Why do you love pinball, Jay?
It's hard to like. I like the physical aspect of it.
Yep.
I like just the combination of the art, the music, the call outs, the theme, like the strategy, and just the game. It's almost like, do you like puzzle games or do you like first person shooters? It's almost like a genre of a video game, but it's physical. And I just really like that genre. I like the social element. It's cool having them at home, and when people come over, they're like, it's a cool novelty. People want to play them and like, introducing them to them and kind of explaining away like how they actually work. And no, it's not just keep flipping and hope the ball doesn't fall down. You can kind of get good. It's just something really, I don't know, like use the word addictive, but something really engrossing and compelling. Yeah,
because you're not, the thing that's interesting is you're not really a high score person normally.
No, not at
normally
all.
I don't care, but like this you're like, oh yeah, I'm in on it. Well, I guess are you playing more for progress though? Or are you playing? Yeah,
it depends. I generally, if I'm playing on my own, I tend to play more for progress. If I'm against someone else, it's really cool because it's sort of like a goalpost keeps moving.
Yeah,
and you change your strategy. It's like, oh, I know if I wanted to get a giant score, I'd do this. But if I fail, I'll get nothing. So I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit here. Yeah. So I enjoy playing against other people that are equal level to have that competition. And there's all different ways you do. They do pin golf tournaments where you'd basically say over a weekend, people have been playing the game. They take the average score and they say that's the goal. And it's how many balls does it take you to reach it?
Oh, okay, nice.
So if you get it in one ball, it's a hole in one. And then,
that's cool. So there's idea.
There's all different formats, or match play where you're directly against each other, or like high scores. So there's all different ways you can do it. And most modern ones will have different modes. You can actually play them co-op or like 2v1 as well. Which is quite cool. It's mostly I just find that core game really fun, and I like the physical element and seeing the ball looping round is like satisfying. But even just like watching, like I'm just proper like in the like I like seeing, because there's like, especially now like modern tech, there's like an innovation to it where they're constantly innovating, and the mechs can become more complicated or more advanced, or they've put like a screen here like actually just above the playfield, which is really smart. Like I love seeing the evolution of it as well. So it's not even that I love playing it, because to us in the UK, it's quite bad. There's just not many.
No, what's the name of that website you said where you can?
There's a website called Pin Locator.
Pin Locator. I always think it's called Pin Finder. Pin Locator, yeah.
And then you can find where pinball machines are, and you look in America, and they're like everywhere.
Yeah.
Whereas in the UK, it's a little bit sparse.
Well, actually, I'm going to tell you what I like about them. But first, before then, when we went to Brighton, they had loads of pinball tables on the pier. Yeah. What were they like? Were they actually decent, or were they a bit smashed up, or like?
They were better than average, but I think that's because they always just have the newest one.
They had Stranger Things, though, didn't they? That was the
and so they generally have the ones that came out that year or the year before there, and so I think they just haven't had enough time to get beat up.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
But it's always, you can't hear anything because it's too quiet and stuff. So I don't think they maintain them really well there. But I've had ones that take your money and then you try and play it and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, so I had that also in Brighton actually. There was a Street Fighter 2 pinball machine. I was like, oh great, like I'd learned how to play pinball a bit from Joe, so I was like, I'm gonna have a go at this. And I tried to nudge it and the top glass slid off to the side. And obviously I was in a pub, so I was like, oh my God, like trying to put it back together, which is pretty crazy. But for me, this is really carryover from arcade games. Growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, video games were not what they are now. It was always like, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your life playing these video games. For some reason, whenever I played something in an arcade, it always felt like it mattered. And I don't know why that's the case, but it always was like, this matters more than sitting at home and playing Mario dying. It doesn't matter.
I wonder if it's because you put money in each time. I think it's
put money in, and also knowing that like my dad had given me £1. And it's like, I can't go back to him within 5 seconds and be like, I've lost the money, by the way. So it always mattered. And I
think also you're usually playing something you're not played before. I think there's an element of, I've put it into a machine and like, okay, what am I doing? Like, I need to understand it quickly so I don't waste my money.
You're stepping up to the plate and it becomes an event. That's what I really like about arcade games. Like stuff like Time Crisis, it's like, it's not me sitting at home with my computer. It's this massive unit that like, I'm stepping up and taking my turn amongst everyone else. And that's what I always liked about arcade games, like the real eventness of it and the fact that they always go all out on production because they want people to step up.
And so I think like, pinball's really good for that.
Yeah,
because of the physical element for the event side.
Yeah. Like there's a game I've always wanted to play. Actually, when we go to Japan, we're not about to play, but it's called Elevator Action. I can't remember the actual, it's got a really stupid subtitle. It's a light gun game. But you're in an elevator. But in real life, they have the doors that open and close, and you shoot through the middle of the doors. I can't wait to give that a go.
It's like Fear. That level of Fear.
Yeah, it's like that. It is like that. Yeah. Actually, let me quickly look up what that's called, and then we'll.
Yeah, but while you look that up, one of the other things that's quite funny with pinball, which is quite unique, is that because they do licenses, like less so now, but more back in the day, is they would try and have the game to come out close to the film, similar to licensed video games. So they'd always be making a gamble on films. So there's a lot of games that are like really beloved games that people like and play all the time, but from like films that completely flopped.
Yeah, is there like Encino Man? Is that what it's called?
Encino Man.
No,
Demolition Man.
No, Keanu Reeves.
Oh, Johnny Pneumatic. Johnny Pneumatic. Johnny Pneumatic.
Yeah,
that's known as one. There's also a film called The Shadow, which didn't do very well. It's one of the best machines. So, or even like Addams Family. It's like,
well, that film was great.
I know, but it's like, it's not like Star Wars or something. But like, that's the best-selling one. Yeah. Like that game would have been really successful. Otherwise, another one is Twilight Zone, kind of same designer, same era. Where a lot of people really love Twilight Zone, but I don't think you'd put that above the Jaws or like E.T. or something.
Yeah, is it more that the developers of the games go and try and get the licenses, or do you think it's more the licenses are like, we want something made for our...
Oh, they look for the licenses, I think. The pinball manufacturers are reaching out. I don't think Marvel are there like, we need a pinball machine.
No, but like they're doing so many different things, they may as well.
No, and it is a big... They do spend a lot on them. Like I do know it's a big part of the pinball machine's cost is the licenses. Yeah. But they're so important to selling a game. Like imagine, I'm like a huge Queen fan and like, we're making a Queen pinball machine. It's like
Queen Elizabeth. That's what you mean, right?
I just love Queen.
The toy is the hand waving. It smacks them all about.
What would your dream theme be?
My dream, so it used to be Portal, but actually they've made Portal now. So I actually had a proper think about this on the way over, and I think it would actually be Breaking Bad.
All right.
I think that would make a really good pinball table, and it would have really good like voice clips.
Yeah,
and like video clips and stuff like that.
There's a lot to draw.
There's a lot of like the mode building through the modes. You could take out like what's his name, like Tuco, and then like Gus Fring. Like you could really work your way through.
There should be like a ramp and a roof, and it'd be like get the pizza on the roof. And
get
it up on the roof.
They get meth head multi-ball. Like you can have it there. Like, they can have that bit where Jesse pushes the ATM over on that bloke, have the ATM tilted, and you hit it and it falls. Like there's so many things you could do. Because like. Yeah, some of them, the choices for license are a bit odd. Like there's that one, there's 2 James Bond ones, isn't there? There's GoldenEye.
I mean,
there's
over the years,
more than James Bond.
There's a GoldenEye one, and then more recently there's just a 007 one, which is like all eras.
I was like, that sounds cool. Like I like James Bond, but it didn't look very good. It had like this wobbly rocket on it. That was like,
it just that's a weird choice for a patch for
stupid. Anyway, what's your dream license then?
Yeah, I mean, Portal would be really, really high up for me.
But that's real.
I think like Pokemon would be really good. I think it's
Pokemon pinball.
Mad they've not done a real physical pinball machine of Pokemon. Would be really good. I mean, it'd be some video game like Bloodborne or Hollow Knight or something.
Bloodborne would be good, wouldn't it? That would be a really easy one to do. Well, like easy to theme it, like make missions out of it.
It wouldn't be big enough, but
that doesn't stop them before. There's some really there's ones of films that didn't even come out. So it's like films that were a flop.
But those are the old like modern day. If they're doing a license, it's usually an old license. Like they literally like Wizard of Oz. So, like stuff like that is what they do now.
There's a lot at the moment. What the ones that I see, basically the ones you sent me, there seems to be a lot of Marvel. Yeah, like the Avengers, Deadpool. Well, that's only two I can think of.
Yeah, and DC as well. And DC Batman one as well. Yeah, I mean,
we'll probably get a Fortnite table before. Also, there was that Toy Story.
Yeah, Toy Story 4.
Only 4.
Only 4. But that would be a lot. I bet they wanted all of them or one. But Toy Story 4 had just come out, so that's what they got.
Yeah. All right. Shall we have a look?
Well, before we go to Medieval Madness, I got a quiz.
Oh,
I got a game.
I won't look at your screen then.
Yeah, so it's going to be rapid fire.
Oh God.
Basically, is this a pinball machine? So I'm going to
good timing for this quiz.
Yeah, I know. So I'm basically just going to say the license, not the name of the actual machine, just the license.
Yeah.
And you just could give me a quick yes or no. Is it a machine or not? And be quick because there's 20. So rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
You only get a few seconds. Looney Tunes.
Yes.
Correct. Mickey Mouse.
No.
Correct. See if you can get. Actually, I'm not going to keep track of your score, but we'll see where you get above 15 would be good, but I won't keep track. Adventure Time.
No.
Correct. Humpty Dumpty.
No.
There is a Humpty Dumpty one. It's like a really old one.
That's great. Knock him off the wall.
It's what I'm saying. Like the older ones, yet never used to be licensed. That was like a kind of starting late.
They didn't
80s,
get a Humpty
90s.
license.
But they used to be like tennis or like skydiving. Or like
that's cool though.
Yeah, they used to just be like things, activity, or just like
transferring those things into a pinball game is a cool idea. Like.
But they also just used the theme would be like nothing to do with the game. It would just be bells and chimes hitting things and then just pictures.
Right.
Yeah. It didn't really matter the theme back then. Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yes.
There is. You're very good. Rick and Morty.
No.
There is.
There is. No, it's too new. I thought it was too new.
No, it came up a few years ago. Oh, I spoiled this one a bit. Pokemon.
No.
There's not. Just crazy. There's no Pokemon and no Mickey Mouse. Austin Powers.
Definitely yes.
There is. Yeah. Well, have you seen it? Or you just knew
I just know the spy that shagged me. That's all I know.
Baywatch.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
God, you're doing so good.
I can just imagine them. That's why I'm good at imagining them. Yeah.
Taylor Swift.
No.
Correct. Dolly Parton.
Yes.
Correct. Super Mario Bros.
No.
There is.
There is.
There's a Mario one.
Oh, cool. So is that like Japanese made or is that American? Is that based on the film or?
I'm not sure who made that one. It's not very good. It's smaller. It's not like little, but it's
one flipper.
It's obviously made more for kids,
right?
So it's like slightly shrunk down,
than
the other ones. But it's really boring. Resident Evil.
No.
Correct.
Come on.
Final Fight.
No.
Correct. Full Throttle.
Full Throttle. What based on the game by what they called? Double Fine.
LucasArts.
LucasArts, yeah. Probably not.
I'm not. No, I'm just saying Full Throttle.
Okay. Full Throttle, I'd say yes, but not based on.
Yeah. I was trying to trick you. I did a bunch of video game ones to try. There is one called Full Throttle, but it's about motorbikes. Supreme, like the brand.
I would say yes.
There is a Supreme pinball machine. McDonald's.
No.
Correct.
God, I'm good at this, aren't
You're
I?
very good. Burger King.
Also no.
Correct.
God.
Domino's.
I mean, I'm going to say, in my heart of hearts, I think no, but at the same time, I think you're trying to trick me. But I'm still saying no.
Yes, there is a Domino's pinball machine. And the last one, is there a Playboy pinball machine?
I'm going to say yes.
Yes, there are five different playable.
Do you know how I figured
machines.
this out? So I basically thought about you described the community earlier on, and I thought, would they like that? And I answered yes or no based on that.
Oh, that's a good way. Because for me, I think they're like, Baywatch is a weird one. But
no, they were like, oh no, I'm worried about my house. Okay, shall we move on to Medieval Madness?
Yeah, so what we're going to do now, so for people watching on the video, we're going to cut to a segment where I'm going to have a bit of me playing the game and explaining very lightly what the rules are. If you're on the audio version, you're not going to have that.
No.
So I recommend checking out the video version. It's good to kind of see what we're doing anyway. So yeah, let's go to that now. Okay, I'm going to play a game of Medieval Madness. First thing is, if I hold in the left flipper and flip, the ball goes the whole way around rather than getting stopped at the top. And I could try and shoot one of these jackpots and it would light a shot at the castle for a bunch of points. Then when I'm in the game, very easy thing to focus on is the castle. If I shoot the castle once, it will drop the drawbridge and then I can keep shooting the gate. Eventually the gate will get lifted up and then I can shoot it into the castle to destroy it. And there are, I think, 6 or 7 different castles to destroy and they each get harder, but then you get more points for each one. So I'd say if you've never played before and you want something to focus on, just keep trying to hit the castle and you'll get a bunch of points. But there are other things you can do, and it's a pretty simple game. So basically every shot, you'll see there's like a line of shots leading down from it. And anytime you shoot it, the next one will light up. So I'm going to try and shoot the right ramp. And missed. I'll try and get something else. Okay, I'll try and get the left ramp just because the flipper's on this side. And so you'll see the next one has now lit up. And if I light those towards the end, it will basically start a mode which I can light by hitting it into that shot there, the scoop. The other thing is there are trolls, which you light by shooting the 2 yellow targets that are either side of the castle. You generally don't need to aim for them, because normally when you're trying to hit the castle, you'll accidentally hit the targets, like I just did. And so then what you generally want to do is get it so the trolls are lit at the same time as something else, because then you start a multi-ball and you can do them together. Then the other thing is another multi-ball, which you get by shooting it over the moat to the left of the castle. So you see it says lock 1, 2, 3 with those green triangles. If I can shoot the ball so it jumps over the moat and goes into the castle like that, it will start a multi-ball. So once I've done that 3 times, it will start a multi-ball. And then when you're in multi-ball, you shoot the ramps for jackpots, or you can just, while in multi-ball, keep shooting the castle, because then you're safe, because you've got a whole load of balls. And then that way you're safe from losing and you can keep getting points that way and keep progressing. And then the final mode's called Battle for the Kingdom. And to do that, you basically have to destroy all of the castles and then complete each of the other modes 3 times. And there's a few other things, but that's basically what you need to do in Medieval Madness.
I don't have any notes about Medieval Madness because I thought I would have just played it. So I've only got a couple of things I brought with me that I was thinking about, but they're negative, so I don't want to start with them.
Oh, I was hoping it's going to be show and tell.
No. Yeah.
So where from the pinball machines that you've played?
Yep.
And obviously you've never played one kind of really deep enough to
no
get deep in the rules, but like is it your favorite pinball machine?
No, so I'd say the pinball machines that I've played enough to kind of understand what I'm doing are Theatre of Magic, Monster Bash, and Medieval Madness.
Okay.
And of those 3, I know you think the worst one is Theatre of Magic, but for me, that's my favorite one because it's so easy. I don't
think it's the worst. Yeah, it's one that is the rules are so light.
It basically has a massive box on it, and if you hit the ball at the box, it like jumps up and sticks to it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And then when like me and Bryony play virtual pinball on my Switch, and it's like that's quite a good one because it's really easy, and it's like it's really clear in what you need to do. Like it literally is the voice lines that say like shoot the trunk or like get the staircase.
Like, each mode it'll be you start a mode,
yeah,
and it'll be like this is the mode with the left ramp.
Yeah,
this
so
is the mode,
really
and then you just shoot that shot again and again and again.
Yeah,
which is it's great for location, and it's a really popular game. You know, it's very collectible now.
I like the theme as well. I think the theme's cool.
Yeah, the theme's great. And it's loads of toys and shoot it into a trunk, and it's got magnets to save the ball and spinning tiger saw and stuff. Like it's got lots of stuff going on with it.
So yeah, that's probably my favorite overall table. But with Medieval Madness, what I do really like about it is the castle. The castle looks impressive. It's fun to shoot it and hit it with the ball. And it's really clear what it is you're meant to be doing. Like, you're meant to be hitting the castle, and if you go either side, left or right, you're going to get something good. So it's like, this is relatively easy to play. Some of the stuff you were showing me, obviously, I'd never even seen before, especially because when you're playing, I was playing virtually on Pinball FX3, the view I use is like bird's eye. So like, there's the damsel in the table you were showing me is like at the back. I couldn't really ever see that the way that I was playing. But yeah, no, it's fun. I'd say, you know, definitely top 3. It would be third, but it is top 3. But no, I've not played that many, so it's not my favorite theme. I thought it was way older than it actually is. It seems really aged. Monster Bash is a cooler theme, which is like, you know, Frankenstein, stuff like that. But yeah, like in terms of fun, I probably have more fun with it than Monster Bash actually.
Which is really so like the theme is. So obviously Medieval Madness, the medieval bit's obvious, but it's basically
but the madness is you can't get your head around it. It's crazy.
It's like comedy. It's like Monty Python's Holy Grail.
That's what they were going for, right?
Yeah, it's like really silly, and you're like flinging animals. Like it's basically unofficial Holy Grail. But one of the things you might not know is it's kind of a spiritual successor to another game. Did you know that?
Another pinball table?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So Brian Eddy, the designer, the game he made before was a game called Attack from Mars.
Right.
Which was really popular as well.
Yeah.
And it was well, you can probably guess the theme. It's all alien. So instead of a castle, there's a UFO.
Right.
But apart from that, the rules and the layout are almost identical. Like there are different, like it doesn't have the catapult and the damsel. It has aliens on either side instead. But the general rules of you shoot the same shot repeatedly. The lock is in the same place. It's just to the left of the UFO.
Right.
You're destroying a bunch of UFOs, like you're destroying castles. Basically, that game was really popular. And they're like, this layout is really fun and people loved it.
Yeah.
Let's have another go at it. And they did Medieval Madness.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of so those games, like a lot of people might prefer one or the other, but they pair them together as you're unlikely to own both of them because they're so similar. So it's normally which theme do you prefer the most?
Didn't they continue to do that for other layouts? Like, as in they used that Medieval Madness again more recently? So
that's what's called a fan layout. Which means so that you'll have 2 flippers at the bottom. So most modern games have more than 2 flippers, something we haven't even spoke about. They often have more flippers higher up that do other things. But so a fan layout is where you have 2 flippers at the bottom and then literally like lay out like a fan with the shots.
Okay,
so
makes
the furthest
sense,
away one in the middle, and then because it's just naturally and very easy to shoot. And so usually it would be bash toy in the middle, then 2 ramps, and then 2 orbits, and then maybe some other little like a scoop to like lock the ball.
And the
in.
orbits being the ones that basically fling it around the back of the table.
Yeah, so the far left and right. So if you go one side, it orbits and comes back round the other side. So that's kind of a default layout that you see all of the time. And probably, you know, the most famous example of it is Medieval Madness, just because it was so popular.
Just quickly, what is a scoop?
A scoop is essentially a hole that you shoot the ball into. So it's usually like, so you shoot the ball, so it's like a little scoop.
It's like the opposite of a scoop as a hole, isn't it?
So imagine like an ice cream scoop kind of shape kind of thing. So you shoot into it, the ball drops into a hole.
It drops down,
But because it's curved, it will then knock the ball up. So it hits it and comes back out.
Right, okay.
So Medieval Madness technically isn't a scoop, but you'd still call it that.
So the Merlin shot.
That's what you would call the scoop.
That's the scoop, okay.
But it's actually not a scoop. But in most games it is.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then so for me, so I would be obviously trying to hit the castle. Go to the left, I could get the multi-ball. Pretty easy to do. Easy to keep track of as well. Yeah. And then going on the right, you'd go into the scoop. And then Merlin would basically, he would auto-complete something for you. Or auto-push you in a direction. Yeah. Which was also good.
A mystery award. Most of them have a mystery award. That's pretty common.
So what I like about that, though, is it kind of gives you focus. When you don't really know what you're doing, he will kind of give you something like, trolls are now 1 shot away. Or trolls are coming out now or something. And it's like, it's very easy to play. It's got good forward momentum. I remember way back when Zen Pinball first came out, I bought a few tables. I bought the Avengers tables on it. And I could never really understand where it was I was going. But I feel like Medieval Madness has got enough forward momentum that it does kind of push you down a path.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I think the other thing, pinball machine, most people don't, because they have the rules.
But mate, they're not easy to follow. It's not easy to follow a list of rules like that.
I know, I get it, but it's still like people will play and it's like they're trying to learn the rules by kind of just looking at lights and maybe the screen or something.
Yeah.
Whereas I'd always say if I'm going up to a new pinball machine, I'd at least look and maybe see how do I start a mode and how do I start multi-ball? That's usually always the two top left things on that list of things. So then I'm like, okay, to start multi-ball, I shoot this thing 5 times. And to start a mode, I shoot it in the hole. Yeah. Okay, I got it. When I will now aim for the hole or that thing. I'm not going to know any intricacies, but I at least have something to aim at. And I think that's my general tip for anyone going up to a new pinball machine. Just take a little look. Maybe just look how to start multi-ball. Yeah. That's probably the easiest way to get a bunch of points. And then you have a thing to aim for rather than just flipping. Yeah,
I think sometimes the instructions can be a little bit like trying to learn to drive by only reading a book. It's a bit like there's so much terminology in there as well that it can be. It can be quite confusing.
The other thing is there'll be a YouTube tutorial for basically every machine.
Yeah,
is the other thing. Just search. I mean, usually multiple. So if you that would probably be the way to learn. Is just look up a YouTube tutorial.
I think the best. I mean, this is going to sound completely pointless, but the best learning tool is literally if you can play one pinball table enough. Most of that carries over to another pinball table to be like, I know there's a multi-ball, I know there's a scoop, I know there's a main target I'm meant to be doing. Once you kind of learn the generalities, you can jump between.
You get to skip some steps.
Yeah.
So the modern ones, so Medieval Madness, so as we say, is from the 90s, compared to a modern one, is if you looked at them side by side, ignoring the screen, you wouldn't really see a difference between them. But in terms of the rules, the level of complexity is quadrupled, if not more. Like there's so much more depth and strategy to the modern ones, which I really like.
Yeah.
But it means you have to spend to get to the point where you're having a lot of fun. You got to get to a point where you understand what you're doing, because otherwise it feels like you're playing a video game, but you never fully know the controls. So you can still have some fun, but you're never fully in control.
Yeah, I think Medieval Madness is just the right amount of things to do that I can keep track of it.
And I think that's why it was so successful.
I did play the Mandalorian one, and it's like you could like
same designer.
You could like
that's made by Brian Eddy.
Oh, there you go. You could like collect weapons and stuff, and it was a bit like, okay, you've lost me. Like, we've gone too far now. Like,
a lot of them will have like a shop, so you can. So in that one, you get like Bhaskar, then you go to the Foundry, and you can buy things. I mean, they released same designer again, Brian Eddy, Dungeons and Dragon one recently, and that one allows you to save your progress. So you do a campaign. So you do a character. That character is leveling up, and it will affect different things.
That's crazy.
And you don't just play free balls and go. Like you will, every time you play, you can carry on that campaign. And you can play it over a long period of time on location as well, because that's the other thing. Modern games, they have like a little QR code system.
Yeah.
So you can just, I mean, I just have it in my wallet, my Apple wallet.
Yeah.
I just scan it and it will sign me in. It tracks my achievements. I could play against people online. It can save my progress, and I basically have a profile that I could, basically like a gamer tag for pinball.
See that the Baldur's Gate, Dungeons and Dragons is all well and good, and what you're saying is cool, but what people who are watching this may not realize is that you need to get your baseline skill level up to a point where you are able to actually hit the stuff that you want to hit.
Yeah.
And like, I've played probably more than most people, and I'm still not very good at it. Like, I played at least the virtual version for 10 hours, not including the time I've played here or the time we've gone to pinball halls. It is pretty difficult.
Yeah.
It's a pretty difficult
thing.
And
that's when you get, so it's almost like, say we were wakeboarding. And I go wakeboarding every week in this hypothetical.
Yeah, every
week. And
week.
this is your first time.
Yeah.
You're there just trying to stand up. If you stand up, that's an achievement.
Yeah.
I'm planning my route and I'm doing jumps and flips. And we're doing the same thing, and you will have fun just trying to stand up. And if you stand up for a few seconds, yes, I stood up.
Yeah.
But I'm doing a whole different thing over here.
Of course.
Pinball's kind of like
that's what I was saying is a good thing about Medieval Madness, at least, is like even the basic level of trying to stand up is still fun.
Well, that's why I say that is when someone comes over, that's the first game I'd say, oh, play that one, try and hit the castle.
Yeah.
And almost by accidentally, they'll destroy at least one castle. I inevitably hype them up as if like, oh my god, people never normally do it. Like I'm always like, oh my god, you destroyed your castle first go. Like, and they're like, is that good? I'm like, that's amazing. It's like,
you're the most handsome person to ever destroy a castle.
It's like 3 shots, but I like, but it makes a whole big show out of it. And then they're like, oh, okay, can I do another one? And then I might say, oh, if you shoot left to the castle, you can get a multi-ball and you get 3 balls. They're like, what? So
the only reason I was bringing it up is the difference is like if you know how to play Halo, you can play Call of Duty. Like once you have that skill level of like, I know how to move a camera and to move sticks, and you learn that. Pinball is much the same. Like you need to learn how to control the ball. Yeah. Which is a big amount of skill level. You really need to sink a lot of time.
Just aim. Like people, when I say aim, they're like, "What do you mean aim?" Like I've just got 2 buttons. It's like, and I could say like, okay, so if you shoot near the end of the flipper, it will go here.
Yeah.
Then if the ball's coming down with speed, you've got to judge. Where do I hit it on the flipper based on what the ball's doing?
Yeah, and it's like, am I deflecting the ball or is the ball rolling off the flipper as well?
Yeah,
am I flicking it up?
And so catching and controlling the ball and then aiming, like it takes a long time, especially learning to control the ball without, you'll be trying to do it for a long time being bad until that starts to click. And then I'm still not perfect at it. You keep getting better.
Yeah, I don't mind being bad. That's not something that bothers me. Especially because in the modern day case, I'm not paying every time. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I don't mind not being so good. What else have we got, mate?
So for Medieval Madness, like I do enjoy, like for me, it is like I don't play it loads. It is more one I play when people come over because the rules are relatively light. And I think because it hasn't got modes, like one of the things is like it's kind of playing the same song almost the entire way through.
Yeah, okay. I know always complain about the noise, but it is particularly noisy, isn't it? It's a loud.
It's not it's just the repetitiveness because you're kind of always in. Well, not always. There are a few kind of like when the trolls come up, it like changes a little bit, but mostly you're in the same mode where you're like, okay, I've got to say shoot all these shots 5 times, and so sometimes it can be a bit of like. Feels like a bit of a slog.
Yeah.
Whereas some other games where there's a bit more variety and momentum to the gameplay, and I've done this mode. Okay, now I'm going to do another mode, and like what I'm doing feels completely different to what I was doing before. There's ups and downsides to both styles of game. Most have gone more to the mode-based game now. Like it's good, but also it makes it so you don't want to play it again and again and again. For me.
Yeah, because you're always progressing the same. You're always kind of always doing the same.
And there's kind of one strategy which is pretty good that I always kind of go for. Yeah. And so I'm kind of forcing myself to do something different if I am.
Well, speaking of not playing Medieval Madness that much, Firelion3487 on YouTube, who, by the way, has a high score of 77 million on Medieval Madness.
Nice.
Says, to the real pinhead, which is what I called you in the comment, is this your favourite machine? If not, then what is?
So my favorite machine is Godzilla. It's come up a few times here.
That's a number 1 rated machine. Is your favorite? That's fair enough.
Not because of, and it is by far my favorite. Like it's the game I play. Like I'm lucky enough that I have it, and I play it. Normally, if I'm playing pinball, I'm playing it. It's there's so many rules. So there's so many wizard modes to get. I've not seen that final one. I've not seen the credits roll. But it's. It's a crazy machine, even just mechanically. It's got a big like skyscraper that like sinks into the playfield, but it can fall on different levels, and depending on what level it's on, the ball goes back different ways. It's got Mecha Godzilla, got like a bridge that gets destroyed. Like it's cool just mechanically anyway, but it's really the rules that kind of make it stand out, and I really like the theme. And
you got into Godzilla films because of the table, right?
Yeah. I knew I was getting the table, and I was like, I'd never watched any of the films, so I watched them. Now I'm really into the Godzilla films as well. So now it's become like one of my favorite themes.
Is there any crossover with the like rules or the modes between Medieval Madness and Godzilla? Other than the building falling down, which is quite similar to the castle being blown up.
Yeah, they both have a bash toy. What is very common in games is a lot of the strategy is you want to start a mode and then immediately go into a multi-ball. So you're doing the multi-ball and the mode at the same time. They slightly similar with that with the trolls and Medieval Madness, but not so much. They both have like mystery awards. Like there's little things you could pluck out, but it's almost like, you know, it's almost like comparing like the first Mario to Odyssey.
That's
like
what we do here,
yeah,
though, isn't it? That's what we do.
You're still jumping and stuff, but the complexity's got so much greater. And then the side flipper adds quite a lot to it as well. And like the thing that Keith Elwin, the designer, does really well is he has really unique, what they call like ball paths, like the path the ball goes. So there's all these crazy toys, but the most innovative thing is basically it's like a little column which has a magnet in it, but the column spins. And so the ball could go up and around, and as it comes down, it will basically get caught by the magnet and it will spin it around, and then it will release it at just the right time to lift it up to go like another shot. So it just creates these really, like when you're looking at it, you're like, whoa, how did the ball do that? Or, or it is also counts as a bash toy, and then it can catch the ball with the magnet and then like drop it. And like it's these little things. And he did the same thing in Jaws. There's like a reel for like a fishing rod thing. And it's like a shot that you like shoot, and it like goes around the reel, but then it just perfectly feeds and goes down like a lane somewhere to feed like another flipper. So there's all of these like really cool movements that the ball does around the playfield, which just makes shooting shots just feel more satisfying than most pinball machines. You know, that you know, they might have a ramp and then the ball goes wibbles for a bit, but it almost feels like you're less connected to it. Whereas in those cases, it feels almost more direct.
So this is difficult because obviously we normally do video games. What do you think are fair ways that we can sit here and judge and critique Medieval Madness as a pinball table? Because I guess we have like the obvious ones would be like the art, the sound, the mechanics. But I mean, the art is pretty good. The sound is okay.
I mean, it's one of the best machines, so it's kind of it's harder to do. I mean, the Merlin shot, the scoop, it rejects quite a lot. If you shoot the ball too fast, it pops out.
Okay. Also, we had that problem earlier on where the catapult.
There's a catapult which launches balls, and two got stuck at the same time. And it kept struggling. So I mean, and that catapult shot's a little bit awkward to hit. I mean, I think where you'd go for the critique is maybe I think the balancing, I think the castles maybe give you too many points. Whereas the fact that if I get to multi-ball, you know, you got to shoot the ramps for jackpot. Often I'm like, I'd rather just shoot the castle because I'll get more points. And be making progress. So maybe there. But I think for a game made for arcades or made for location, I think it's probably about as perfect as a pinball machine has been. You know, much better than modern machines because they're way too complicated. So it's probably for a game that someone can just go up to and start flipping and have fun. It's got like the trolls are a surprise. They like pop out the
and they're loud. Surprising, aren't they?
You don't know that they're going to pop out. The castle getting destroyed is like,
it's cool.
Is a really fun, silly time. It's like, it's pretty funny. Like obviously, once you've
heard it 300 times, but it's pretty funny, and it's, you know, it sounds good.
Imagine you're playing it like a few times. It probably is funny then, and it does have, even though you're destroying castles every time or shooting these other shots, they vary the voice line. So which castle you're destroying, there's always like the person in the castle shouting at you who's some stereotype or comedy character, and it's random. The same with, say, if you're saving the damsels, it's always a different damsel. Like one's like the Brooklyn damsel, like speaking like a New York accent to you, and so they all have like different ones, like the Valley Girl damsel and stuff. And so at least you're not hearing the same voice lines every time.
I think Medieval Madness is a good, fun time that if someone told me, you know, I was going somewhere and they were like, oh, there's a Medieval Madness pinball table at, you know, this location, I would go out of my way to go and play it. Like, it is that good. Like, if you've not played it, if you go on Pin Locator, your favorite website, and find it, it is worth seeking out and playing. And even the digital version is also pretty good. We spent a bit of time with that just before we started recording. And like, you know, it's close enough. It's good. I do have a couple of critiques. One of them is of pinball in general. I think multiplayer pinball is terrible. I don't think it's good. So basically, it's a little bit like, you know, when you bought Super Mario Bros. 1 and they were like, it's got a 2-player mode. And you're like, oh my God, it's got a 2-player mode. And then you play it and it's like, player 1 start. And then you're like, oh, I'm the other. I have to wait my turn. And then you get your turn. Problem is with pinball is that if you're not very good at it, your turn could be 30 seconds. Or it'll be like, your turn, okay, shoot the drawbridge. And then you lose and you lose. And you're like, by the time you get back to the table, you're like, what was I doing again? I don't really know what I'm doing.
Especially with extra balls. You can unlock extra balls, so then you get like several goes in a row.
I would always rather someone just play their 3 turns or 4 extra balls, whatever, set a score, and then another person play their 3 turns.
But that's another way of doing it.
Of course, yeah.
It's essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
The only thing is some games, you physically lock a ball. So it'd be like, to get multi-ball, it'd be like lock 3 balls to start multi-ball. And so you shoot it into a thing and it stays there. And then you lock another one. So like you're building it up in that way. And so sometimes there's stuff where if you're doing multiplayer, you can like steal locks or like you can kind of mess people up in certain ways.
And is that intentional or not?
Well, it's just
part of the quirk.
Yeah, I mean, if there's 3 balls up there and then, you need to plunge another one, maybe it will drop out and it's just like a less favorable feed or so. So it's not exactly the same, but I mean, if you prefer to do it that way.
Oh yeah, definitely prefer.
Yeah, I mean, there's
one at a time.
Yeah, there's no different to doing that way. But I think the problem is most of your time doing multiplayer is with me.
Yeah, and you play for like 10 minutes at a time. And I play for 30 seconds.
Longer turns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
And the other one would be, which is definitely by design, but I just don't like the timed modes. Like, I'm already under pressure trying to keep the ball in play. I don't need it to be like a big countdown or like, you've only got 30 seconds. It's like, mate, I'm hanging on for dear life here. Like, maybe sometimes these pinball tables, especially the home ones, could do with like a tutorial mode or like, I don't know if that exists, or like a simpler mode where it's not always going at 100 miles an hour and instead spends a bit more time being like, okay, shoot the trolls and they will stay up until you shoot them, so that you learn how to play. I don't know if Godzilla or anything like has anything like that.
The only thing kind of like that, which isn't like that, but is a separate mode, is they always have like a competition mode, which removes any randomness.
Okay.
So any mystery awards, or say sometimes it'd be like, oh, which mode you get first is random. It'll be, no, you always start with this one. Or there's a way to choose it. So there's that. They don't really have, as far as I know, I don't think there's any that have had an easy mode, but you could go through the settings and you could just change it to easy.
Yeah, assuming it's your table.
Yeah. If it's your machine, not in an arcade. If it's your machine, you could give yourself a longer ball saver, which means if the ball goes down, it comes back at the beginning of your turn. So you could change it to make it easier and harder, or physically change stuff to make it easier or harder.
Arcade games also have a mode where it removes all randomness. And if I gave you a million guesses, you'd never guess what it's called.
Removes all randomness.
Yeah. The like industry-wide term they use for that mode. You would never ever guess it.
I don't know. Smooth mode.
It's called Caravan mode.
Caravan mode.
It's called Caravan mode. Every single arcade game has Caravan mode, which is like all, when you play a shoot 'em up, it doesn't give you random weapons, it always gives you the same ones every time. But yeah, no, I think tutorial stuff for the pinball machines, they're exciting because they're a lot, but they're also difficult to get to grips with because they're a lot. It's like, especially if you're not used to looking at lights to get an update.
Yeah.
If you're not even aware that you may not even be aware that that's what you're meant to be paying attention to.
There's a pretty steep learning curve. As you said, mechanically for just controlling the ball, there's a learning curve.
Yeah.
And then each game, some stuff is, you can learn similarities between games, but they're all, like video games in the same genre, with the Halo versus Call of Duty example, there are different, there's enough differences that you're not going to be immediately a top Halo player if you're a top COD player. They're different enough. I get what you're saying with the time mode. I mean, not all games have time modes. In fact, Medieval Madness is a game, it's basically just the trolls that has...
Well, it's got when you shoot the castle, it's got that countdown.
Oh, yeah, so it's got a hurry
that's
up.
That's a bit of like oh, God. Like,
I mean, that's what, so hurry ups are basically where you'll get a shot where you'll have a score that's counting down, and the quicker you shoot it, the more points you get. I think they're quite fun, though.
It is fun, but also it's like, I just don't need the pressure right now. Like, of all the things I don't need pressure on.
So one thing in almost all of Keith Elwyn games is he'll do like a thing where basically everything stops. Right. And it's like you have one shot and it matters loads. So in Godzilla, it like catches the ball. It's like the destruction jackpot. And the ball will like drop and you'll go like 3,
oh my
2,
God.
1, and then it will drop. And then you just from the side flipper, you've got to shoot like around like the side. And you have like basically one chance to do it. And he's done that he did it on an Avengers game where it like goes up like a ramp held by a magnet again. It's like,
did you go up the Avengers Tower?
Yeah, it's up the tower. And then it drops, and then it's Jurassic Park and another one. And so I like the fact that because the pace is so fast normally, it's like no, Everything stops. You got one chance to be really accurate, and if you do, you get loads of points.
That's cool. That is cool. That feels a bit different to the time pressure mode, I think.
But then there's all things for that destruction jackpot. There's certain modes you can do that will increase the value or increase the multiplier. So I might be like, okay, I want to do this to increase that. But it like which city I'm in. If I'm in London, it's like worth more. Like there's
the city in the game, you mean? Not
Which city in the game am I in? Because you start off in Tokyo and then you can choose which city you go to. Like there's so many things you choose. And then I'm getting like Godzilla power-ups and I can choose, do I have more time in my mode or increase my destruction jackpot? And then if I've got a super jackpot in this multi-ball, then that means I unlock this mode. But like, if I get a super jackpot in a different one, I get a choice. There's so many things to keep track of, which is completely overwhelming for a new player.
But if you have it at home, it's perfect.
It makes every game feel different. Whereas Medieval Madness, there's variety, but every game is pretty similar. And it's like, how far down the road did I walk?
Yeah. No, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
That's not really related to Medieval Madness, but is related to pinball.
Okay.
Quantum in our Discord asked, what's the difference between a great pinball machine and a mediocre one?
I think rules will often matter more than layout. Okay. I think successful, at least back in the day, it mattered a lot about the license. I mean, if you look at like Addams Family, the first one that really blew up, that was the first game that kind of really properly incorporated rules. It's almost like the first modern pinball machine that you would look at and be like, okay, that blueprint has been evolving since then, but that is the first one where you're kind of touring the house and each room is like a different little mode.
Right, God, okay.
And then there's like you shoot a bookcase to do like a multi-ball. And so there's been cases where a game that wasn't very popular, so like there was a Walking Dead pinball machine.
Right.
Which people didn't really like very much. It was an okay layout, but not great. People didn't have much fun. And then they redid the rules, and it was actually Lyman Sheets, who's often considered, sadly he's not around anymore, but he was considered the best coder or pinball rules designer. He did Medieval Madness, he did Monster Bash as well. Like he's kind of done, so he almost came up with what we think of as modern pinball rules. Like he basically went and reworked all the rules, and now it's loads of people's like favorite game. Just from changing.
But the layout is exactly the same.
The layout,
That's clever.
It's already in place,
really
and they just changed and it happened. I mean, it's happened recently with X-Men one.
Is that a new table as well?
Yeah,
right.
Came out really recently, and people didn't hate it, but like the rules, as I said, weren't finished when it was released because they never were. And there were some people didn't like, and they're like, okay, you know what, we're going to do a full rework. So the layout's all the same, and they've just basically they're like, okay, we're at stage one of a full rework. We're basically not changing everything, but changing significantly the rules of the game to make it better with updates.
Yeah, sorry, go on. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say the other thing to make it great is it's just like just designing the path of the ball just so like you can play a game and often be like, oh, this is a clunky game. You just be like, oh, I shoot the orbit. But it's not even that. It's like I shoot it and it just sort of like clunks back and forth and falls back down. Like there's not, like flow is something that they talk about a lot. Like not every game needs to have flow. Sometimes a stop and start game is still really fun, but the shots need to be satisfying to hit and have an interesting layout. And then the rules need to justify you shooting all different shots and not just the same one.
Okay, just to finish what I was saying earlier on, because I forgot the Marvel. I said there's loads of Marvel stuff coming out, and I can't remember. Obviously, you just mentioned X-Men.
Yeah.
I've also played Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And that one has a big Groot head.
Yeah.
Is there also two Avengers ones? One that has Thanos and one that has the tower? Or is that the same table?
They're...
Thanos' chin is a thing you can hit, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's got the gauntlet in. I think there actually might be maybe even another... No, I think there is just
there's a lot of Marvel tables.
Yeah. So, and then that Guardians of the Galaxy one is a spiritual remake, or at least it's almost the exact same layout of a Metallica pinball machine.
Right, yeah.
That people really love. Once again, mostly because of the rules.
Yeah.
Which they've, even though it's a modern one, relatively modern, they've just done a remake of it as well because people really liked it.
And then the Stranger Things one is a remake, or... Is that a remake?
So that is basically Medieval Madness.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
and so that's Brian Eddy again. Yeah. Obviously, Stranger Things much more modern. So that was he stopped designing for ages, and then he came back.
Sounds like he didn't design anymore. Same layout.
well, that, I think because it was like, oh, we've got Brian Eddy back.
Yeah.
So it's like, of course he's going to do that. So it actually does this. It's the same kind of rules where it's you shoot each shot a certain amount of times and it lights up. Like it's not modes in that same way. So eventually it does start a mode, but it's kind of old school in terms of some of the rules in the fact that it's shooting repeated shots. But the layout is very similar to Medieval Madness.
Yeah, on the Great versus Mediocre, I don't know what it is, but I played one of the newer Jurassic Park ones that had like spinning plates in. And you hit the ball over and it goes like, ooh, and I was like, this is just not good. But I could tell from playing it, I was like, this is just not for me.
You sure it's Jurassic Park?
It wasn't Jurassic World, maybe? It's definitely a dinosaur.
Wasn't Ninja Turtles? That's
No,
like
it was definitely a dinosaur
spins.
that it had something that span in it, and I was like, this is just not for me. Have you got anything else on Medieval Madness you would like to bring up?
No, I think it's a great game. I think, if you see one in location, I think it's a really fun one to play. It's not even my favorite game of that era, but it's a game that I really like, so I think it made sense to do it. It's basically representing pinball for the podcast.
Okay, a few more comments then. Jace is Wimpy says, my highest score has been 120 million.
Nice, that's very good.
That is good. I can't reach it again for the life of me. Blake in our Discord said, I've been playing the VR and flat screen and it works so well in VR. It almost feels like using a real machine. I had the intention of playing VR for this episode, but we've just had a heat wave. I was like, I'm not putting a headset on. I mean, Blake's from Australia, so
you played R.
I've got no excuse.
You played R at least.
Oh, I did play R. I did play R. Yeah, that's right. And one last thing that I think is worth pointing out is Brady Bella 8953 asked, what do you guys think of stop killing games? I don't know if you know about that.
Don't think so.
So it's basically this big new initiative. I can tell you now, we're both for it. Joe would definitely be before everybody hears what it is. It's basically a big new initiative to stop publishers taking their games off services.
Oh, well,
and it's like once you release it, either find a way to support it, find a way to make fans be able to support it, stop taking it away. There's been loads of petitions. Like every region, every continent has their own petition.
Yeah.
So
a lot of it's focused at Nintendo, I guess, probably.
Yeah. I think there's a Europe one that has actually already reached like government level. But yeah, I think it's good and it's worth signing. So you should do that. Thank you, Brady Bella, for writing in about that.
I thought it was going to relate to pinball somehow.
No. That's my last thing.
They can't take away our pinball machines. No. That's actually a voice line of Medieval Madness.
I mean, I get it a little bit, how annoying it is for game publishers to be like, we have to keep this going. Like Concord obviously didn't sell very many and it must be a pain for them to server cost. But at the same time, just make it PvP or whatever they call it, where servers can be hosted by players. And then we're good.
Yeah. I think that's what you say. Like they can't be expected to uphold it forever. Yeah.
But I think if you plug a Wii in now, 20 years ago, you could still download things from the eShop, which is pretty cool. I guess Nintendo's got a spotty history of doing stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, shall we list?
Yeah, put it on the list.
Right. Medieval Madness pinball table.
So should we start above or below Subterra, the other non-video game?
Elite Trainer Draco on YouTube wrote in and said, now that you've played board games and pinball on the podcast, when can we expect an episode on the fan favourite crossword puzzle? But we did originally intend to do way more weird things.
Yeah,
we talked about films as well, didn't we? Like gaming films, like a Mario Brothers movie and stuff.
I think a thing that you play, kind of, there needs to be an interactive element. Yeah. Otherwise, it's it's not like paintings. Like where do we like a nice walk among the beach? Like where does it end?
Wallpaper. Our discussion of wallpaper. Anyway, Medieval Madness pinball, kind of representing all pinball because we're not going to do another one.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Easy first punt for me would be top 25.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for me, it's going to be so.
I know, but we need to find the middle ground. But definitely top 25. It's a fun pastime. It's a lot of fun. I've spent 10 hours playing the virtual version. Love playing the real life version. Easy top 25.
Okay. Do you want to be a bit more specific?
No. I'd like to hear what you think. Bear in mind, you're matching up with some of your favourite games of all time. Yeah.
What about 11?
11? No. Well, Alan Wake keeps getting kicked down the garden path.
Like, I realize top 10 might be pushing it. Like, even for me. You know, like it's so.
I think I would struggle to put it above GTA 5. And then once you're talking GTA 5, you're talking.
Sorry, there we go.
Once you're talking GTA 5, you're talking Titanfall 2, and then we're struggling here, aren't we? I think in terms of actually playing it as a game, which is the only thing we can really compare it to, everything else is this. It is a game about shooting a castle.
It's me encompassing my love of pinball, but like, I guess that's kind of a bit.
Also,
tricky.
My version of it is playing it virtually, which is still fun and still good and still worth doing, but it is a virtual game about shooting a castle over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, if I was doing virtual pinball, it wouldn't be top 25.
No.
It would be way lower.
Maybe don't count it out though. Virtually, it's not bad.
No, I had fun. I
turned my TV sideways, guys. There's a video of it.
Do you know why? Obviously, it's different because the interactive side is physically different. But I compare it to going to like a live concert compared to watching a stream of a live concert. Yeah,
I think it's a little bit better than that. I think it's more like
watching a live concert with a good sound system.
I think it's more like watching your favorite artist perform in an intimate venue would be the real life version, and watching them perform at a stadium would be the virtual version. Because it's so close. It's not like virtual golf or something. Like it is so close to the real thing. Anyway, what about One Above Walking Dead?
What about One Under Portal 2 above Titanfall 2?
You think it's better than Titanfall 2?
I think I like pinball more than that video game of Titanfall 2.
Do you know what? I actually like pinball more than
I really like Titanfall 2 too.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I like it more than.
And says Titanfall 2 isn't the second best video game of all time. Medieval Madness is the second best.
It's not my second favourite though.
I know, according to other people.
According to the pinheads, out there. I think. What about one below Grand Theft Auto, one above Portal 2?
Yeah, let's put it there.
That's a good place.
Let's put it there.
That's a good place. Okay, all right.
It looks funny seeing it there for some reason.
It does look funny, doesn't it? I don't really know how. I guess we could short it to PB, like peanut butter, like so it fits in the gap we've left for it.
I realized we actually never mentioned kind of all of like the other, like the virtual pinball machines that aren't replicating a machine, like the ones that came with Windows.
Oh yeah,
there was one
Pokemon pinball
as well. Yeah,
Metroid Prime pinball.
Like a lot of people really like them. I think a lot of people bought them as kids and have a lot of nostalgia for those. Yeah. And that's what they know as pinball.
I had Pinball of the Dead and I absolutely loved it, which was House of the Dead 2 turned into a pinball table.
And I guess people are because they probably played it enough, they learned the rules.
Oh yeah, of course.
And got good enough at it.
Yeah.
And that they probably never translated that to real pinball.
Yeah, although I will say 10 seconds on a real pinball table is infinitely better than any of those fake ones that have like enemies walking around the table. Yeah. That kind of virtual pinball is, I don't know, I'm struggling to find one that I really loved. I used to have Metroid Prime pinball as well when I was younger.
There's one, so like that Portal machine so they have a screen. On the playfield's a big screen.
Right.
So they kind of have both. So they have all stuff at the back and like ramps coming over it, but it tracks the ball as it moves. So it could interact with things on the whole playfield's like a screen basically.
Yeah. I don't know what that'd be like. I can't imagine the feedback would be very good. But
it's a bit weird because the flippers are almost like floating because obviously they can't drill anything through.
Oh yeah, of course.
So they can't have any mechs in that middle area unless it's hanging. But there's it's called like the P3 system, and you can switch it out, so you can switch out to different machines.
Yes, I know. Yeah,
they got like a few different like licenses for them and their own ones. But the idea is you could buy one cabinet and then keep switching out the game. Is the idea for it?
I would say, that will be the future of pinball, but I suppose if they're doing fine as they are, then they probably won't.
It's quite niche. It's quite a small company doing those. Like I've never seen those on location anywhere.
Yeah,
I think
fair enough.
Mostly for home. I mean, they seem even more made for home.
Speaking of on location, because you keep mentioning it, anywhere in the UK you'd recommend people go?
I've not really been. I mean, we've been to Chief Coffee in London, which is really cool. They got like Japanese rhythm games upstairs and pinball downstairs. It's like. We love it.
Yeah, it's good though.
Ollie's up in heaven, I'm down in hell. Get a cup of tea. Bring a little cup of tea with me. I mean, that's my favourite place in the UK. There's a place I've been to a few times in San Francisco called Free Gold Watch. I think I mentioned on Extra Credit.
Extra Credit, we'll talk about that, yeah.
There's a few places in London that have loads that I've never been to, but they're often like open on certain days, or like they're often a bit. They're not like just a thing that you can often just walk into in some way. I know there's a big place in Salisbury as well.
All right.
I think it's called like Tilts or something.
There's one. The one I went to in Birmingham was called Tilt.
Okay.
And that was a bit like Chief Coffee. It's a cafe. And then they had the downstairs and an upstairs of pinball. And so the upstairs they'd have all the downstairs they'd have all the old stuff. That's where I saw Whitewater, which was about earlier on.
Yep.
And Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah.
I got so it's cool, isn't it?
Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah. And but then upstairs where I played Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, all those. So that was pretty good there. So that's somewhere I could recommend going.
Yeah. I mean, look on Pin Locator, but it is pretty sparse. In the UK,
Fair
unfortunately.
Enough. Can you imagine trying to ship one of those things?
Yeah. I'm just trying to get it in the house and get it set up. I've done that side of it.
Okay, so Medieval Madness is now at number 15, representing all pinball.
Yeah, so just to kind of read above and below, so I guess from 13 to 18. So we've got 13, Silent Hill 2 Remake, 14, Grand Theft Auto 5, new on the list, Medieval Madness, Jackpot unlocked. Jackpot unlocked. Portal 2 is at 16, 17 Titanfall 2, and 18 is Humanity.
Very nice. Well done, Medieval Madness. And what a fun month. It's been a month, isn't it? And also giving us lots of time to play the next game coming up, because it's a long one, isn't it?
Yeah. Lovely segue if you want to go into that.
So next time on August 8th, we're going to be discussing Death Stranding 2, which has only just come out. So I think it's about 40 hours, 50 hours. So we're going to be going... I can't believe we finished Death Stranding 1 in 2 weeks before. This time we got around 6 weeks to finish it, so that's pretty cool. And then on September 5th, Andy Robertson, who was on before to talk about Ludocene and accessibility, should be coming back. If he doesn't come back, it's my fault, not his.
Has he picked a game?
He hasn't picked a game.
Okay.
I need to nudge him. That's what I'm saying. It'll be my fault, not his, if he doesn't turn up.
Nudging?
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to tilt him. Oh my God. Does tilt from gaming come from that?
Oh, I'm
say you're tilted.
I don't know.
Oh my God, maybe.
Possibly.
And then we've got 2 more games undecided, October 3rd and October 31st. So whatever they tell us.
Look forward to those.
We'll let you know what they are. And in the meantime, we've got Extra Credit on Patreon, which is up to 62 episodes. Can you believe? So well over 62 hours of off-topic chat, I suppose. We've got Obra Dimwits is now 7 episodes deep at this point. So check that out. We're playing Return of the Obra Dinn. If you've never played it, it's actually... now it's been edited. Quite a good way to experience it. Some of the episodes, the last one I did, I had to cut out 40 minutes of us doing the wrong thing.
Which made it much better.
It made it much better. Yeah, it's like a puzzle game where you're kind of trying to figure out what happened on this boat. It's really cool. Really cool visual design as well. So, yeah, those are the 2 things that are happening right now.
Cool, awesome. So lots going on. So if you only listen to the audio version, feel free to swing by the YouTube channel and see what's going there. There's also big library of stuff we've done over the years. So if you've never looked through any of that, maybe have a little gander through that and see some of the shenanigans we've got up to in the past. There's a lot on there.
Yeah, nice. God, 4 years, I think. 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, remember Do Your Worst?
Yeah. Announce Your Worst. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Good times.
But yeah, that's the end of this episode here. Thank you so much for watching and feeding my nerdy habit. And
you feel like it's come off your shoulders now.
I've pulled the mask off, because it's like I never mention it, but it's like in real life it's one of my big passions, but it just never comes up. So it's been fun. Thanks for indulging me. That's right. That's what I should have said.
Easy month for me, mate.
So cheers for watching, and we'll see you in a month's time to speak about Death Stranding 2.
Cool. Cheers everyone.
Cheers, bye.